Everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you could please put your laptops, phones, books, homework away, that'd be awesome. So thank you for coming to Tough Talks tonight, especially in the cold. My name is Maya. I'm a sophomore, and I am the SGA Director of Campus Unity.
And my name is Jack Fisher. I am a junior political science major, and I am the Chief of Staff of SGA.
And before we start, just so that you know, right here we have Ryan, our awesome VP of Communications. He's live streaming the event, so if you want to tell your friends to watch you tonight, and just so that you know you are being recorded, this is live streamed on the UD SGA Instagram and Twitter?
YouTube and Facebook.
YouTube and Facebook. So, if you want to watch this later, that'd be great. So, if you haven't noticed yet, each of your tables have an assigned color. So, that's your group for the night. If you haven't introduced yourself or met everyone at your table, go ahead and do that now so it won't be awkward later. The colored dot will appear on the screen, so it'll match your table color, and your table will be asked to respond to that question. So if you would like to designate a table speaker, or you just all want to share, that'd be great. That's how some nose goes. So I'd settle that now. So after you've designated your table speaker, and anybody at any time who would like to respond, all right. So if you've designated your table speaker, that person does not have to dominate the conversation at any time. If anyone would like to respond or share something, that is okay too. Feel free to raise your hand. This is an open discussion. So if you feel uncomfortable, this might make you a little uncomfortable. And if you do need to step out, that is okay. And it is okay to ask questions. And this is a safe space to talk and to share. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. So what is a racial slur? A racial slur is a derogatory or insulting term applied to a particular group of people. And a pejorative, so similar, is a word or grammatical form expressing a negative connotation or low opinion of someone or something, showing a lack of respect for someone or something. And we're going to go ahead and get started with a video.
to deal with racial microaggressions every single day. So microaggressions are those little unintentional insults that basically see people of color as stereotypes, which got me thinking, what if white people had to deal with racial microaggressions?
So, like, where are you from?
No, like, where are you really from?
Why don't you have an accent? Like a Swedish accent.
You know, your English is really, really good. It's like I can't even tell you have an accent or anything.
I don't have an accent.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You don't speak Gaelic?
You don't speak German?
Can you say a curse word in European?
You know, like, what does that even mean?
Hey, Connor, you know about NASCAR stuff, right? Can you take a look at this?
Can you teach me how to line dance?
Play the banjo?
Act entitled in the supermarket. Love white food. No real flavor to it. Not even an upset tummy.
You're so exotic.
How do you get your hair like that? I love how it's so limp.
No, why does it feel like that? Oh my god, so it just does that?
No, you are really pretty for a white girl.
Your eyes are so round. Like this.
You know what you look like? Kenny Chesney.
Zach Braff.
Emma Stone.
Rachel Maddow.
My friend Chad. Maybe you know him, because he's white too.
No, Emma Watson.
Not Macklemore. What's the other guy?
Is it Emma Thompson?
It's C-H-A-D, like Chad.
One of the Emmas. You look like an Emma.
You know what you look like? I bet you hear this all the time. Jeffrey Dahmer.
How does it feel to be the token white guy though?
Hey, Connor, can we get a white perspective on this?
I love everything about white culture. You guys are like so fun.
What do you mean you don't listen to Creed? You're white.
You've never tried math. But you're white.
You don't act like a normal white person.
You're not really white, though.
You're not really white.
I'm whiter than you are.
So, did all your ancestors own slaves?
No, but of course he wishes that he could still own slaves. That's a part of his culture.
Bryce, back me up on this one. The thing you have to understand about white culture
No,
is
I went
that
to
white
an
people
historically
are...
white college, so
Okay,
I know
but
about
I
white culture.
backpacked
It
in
was a-
Europe.
So can you see how ridiculous this was? I know. Story of my life. If you've ever experienced microaggressions because of your race, gender, sexuality, or body type, go ahead and vent about it in the comments.
Can you teach me how to, like, take a really popular rap song and, like, make it a ukulele song?
Okay. So what is a microaggression? A microaggression is a term used for brief and commonplace daily verbal behavior or environmental indignities, whether intentional or unintentional, that communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative prejudice, slights, and insults towards any group. So, how are microaggressions and racial slurs similar? How are they different? Red and orange table, wherever you are. Right here? Okay. Why is it doing this? Alright, we're going to give you guys a couple minutes to talk about it, and then red and orange table, you'll discuss it to the larger group.
It's not unintentional. It's almost like more embarrassing than
So,
because
must be
more at a subconscious level. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's your room warm?
They look upset.
Keep happening. Is that the other one? I'm pretty sure I know a face, but I don't know. Yeah, but I don't mind that. I'm just kidding. Alright, let's bring it all together now. Red table?
Yeah. Okay, so we basically said that the microaggressions and racial slurs are similar. However, microaggressions tend to be not intentional and maybe are brought up more like nonchalantly and
common conversation.
Right, and to me that's almost like worse for the individual because they're so familiarized with it that they can bring it up like nonchalantly, and it's something that they're just like so ignorant to that it's just like on a subconscious level it just kind of like comes out not on purpose.
Okay, orange table.
We said that microaggressions were usually a lot less noticeable than racial slurs, but they are equally like negatively impactful.
Are they less noticeable for the people saying them or for the people receiving them?
People saying them.
Does this one work? Okay. No more microphones. So we're gonna go ahead and watch another video. And one moment while we work on the volume. What's volume go? Is the volume just went on? Is it on mute by They only brought in my shirt.
Anyways, but like, it was just crazy. He didn't do it. All of these like crazy.
Wait, That's the new version of microaggressions. That's, Alright, guys.
Okay, so as you can see, we had some questions. I'm sorry.
I said, when the microphones are off, that's why it's not playing sound.
Yeah, I was playing with the bleach red stuff. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, the microphone problems and volume problems. Just to summarize the video in the best way that I can. If you saw, there was a lady and two guys in the video, and what she was saying to her friends was that she doesn't see race. So she loves everyone, and that race doesn't matter. And her friends came in and said that race does matter. It's the first thing that you see when you see someone. So when you first see someone, the first thing you notice is probably their race, age, or gender. So in some, you cannot be colorblind unless you're actually colorblind. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and skip the first question because you did not get to see the video. But do you consider yourself to be colorblind, and why or why not? So just take a minute in your groups to discuss, and we'll be asking a couple tables to respond.
Yeah, like nobody's gonna be out of it.
It's not that big of a deal, unfortunately.
Where I go along with that is obviously like I understand like that's all fine. I don't have any problem with that. I just like when they have their culture to me, when I go past their culture, I just okay, that's it. The problem is like we were close-minded. This is
like I said,
right, so like I just like I have no problem with it. So it's like that's the culture. Yeah. You don't know what the line is. You know what I mean? If you ask for certain things. Right.
Oh my gosh. There's all the
Alright, let's use the
Okay, so where is my grade table?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Is that working?
This is working.
Okay, so yeah, grade table. We'll start with you guys. Do you consider yourself to be colorblind? Why or why not? And I'm going to come over with the mic. So who did not win Oscars?
What we talked about was a lot of our own experiences with differences that we have, even with majority white here, and therefore in a majority group. As far as colorblindness goes, what we concluded is that in the sense that we would treat people differently insofar as the rights they have or how they ought to be respected, we would not consider color in that respect, but in acknowledging different experiences and cultural backgrounds as well, and how that will affect the experience they have overall in life, interacting in society, getting to where they are. That's not something we need to ignore.
Did anybody else want to comment on that? That was really nice. Okay, so where's the brown table? I'm going to bring the mic back to you guys, just so everybody can hear you.
Thank you.
I saw a no. I see a smile.
We just said that we decided we weren't colorblind because if we see someone's race, like we see it the same thing as like if someone has a different color hair, like what they're wearing, it doesn't really affect like how you treat them. It's like part of who they are.
Yeah. There are no like right or wrong answers here. So, did anybody else want to comment on that? You don't have to be the table speaker to share. No? Okay.
One thing we talked about was that we definitely weren't colorblind because, like you pointed out earlier, like color is like the first thing you recognize when you see a person. And there's nothing wrong with like realizing that a person is a different race than you. The problem arises when you treat them differently because of it. So it doesn't matter if somebody is like Black or Latino, but if you see like the color of their skin and then you decide that you need to treat them a different way because of it, that's where the problem kind of arises.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do we try the video now?
And
Come back and do the first one.
we're going to go ahead and give the video one more try because we had our awesome CSI people come down and try to fix the volume.
Get wrecked.
Okay.
I was
Well, we tried. So, because it's a lot of back and forth communication, so subtitles will make it a little confusing as to who's speaking. So we're going to go ahead and continue on.
So is colorblindness a choice or a privilege? You can discuss it among your groups, and then we'll come back.
This one works.
I think it's an exception to the term, yeah. You're definitely going to see the other stuff, but like, it's like how you handle, like how you choose to act towards
I agree with what you said.
I don't know if they mean like. No, that's not what I mean.
All right. Pink table? Where you at? Pink table?
That's us.
Okay. Who's talking?
Our group said that it was more of like a choice because we felt as though like you make the decision to see people in that way. So like it's one of those things where you have to act upon it. If you're gonna treat them differently than you want to, so like people can choose to be colorblind in the sense that like they don't have to view anybody's different from them.
So I would say that colorblindness is most definitely a choice because it kind of blurs into both because it's choosing to be ignorant and believing that ignorance is bliss at the same time. So the privilege comes into if you are a minority in a system where there is racism that exists, which is globally, but if you're a minority, then if you move colorblind, eventually you'll find out that this world, you can't move colorblind in this world. There's discrimination towards you. Whether you choose to accept that or not is your choice. However, you're not privileged to, or you're not privileged to benefit from being colorblind. However, if you're a majority or a power race in a society and you move colorblind, you're more likely to benefit off of that ideology. Because unless you have a connection to somebody to where you see they're affected and that actually does hurt you, but it can be, it definitely is a choice, but it can blur into a privilege as well when you kind of dig into the concept.
Awesome.
Really well said.
Yeah.
Really well said, Gabe.
All right, black table.
Alright, so we were just talking about how we think it's a privilege because we're white, like we don't have to like consider how people are gonna treat us because no one really treats us differently, and that's definitely privilege. But like, I don't know, I feel like others, like you have to like be aware of like who's around you, and like that's like, I don't know, it's not like a choice to just like ignore it. You kind of like have to face it because unfortunately like people do mistreat you because of your race. So
Thank you for sharing. That was really well said.
Our group kind of talked about it too, and I just kind of want to point it out. We said in some sense it kind of is a privilege, but like in a different way. We said like if it's a privilege if you grow up in a society where it's like everyone is so diverse and it's like equally diverse, like you have an equal amount of like every single race kind of in an area, so you don't really see like color blindness, like you are kind of colorblind to it because you're so used to it and you see everyone very like not similar, like you understand the race, but you don't make any like decisions or like treat people differently because you have grown up in such a diverse area. So that's how we kind of saw privilege, is like again like how you're raised too, and like if you grow up in like an area where you can be exposed to that.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Race matters because we determine it matters. So if you raise someone to believe that it doesn't, that's what they're going to learn. So absolutely, racism is a learned behavior.
All right. Now, how do you think colorblindness affects your everyday life? I'll give you a couple minutes.
What means for family? Because like are there these that every day? Yeah. Well, they can't. Start putting these at I never thought about
having to deal with that. I've been kind of sorry about
Okay, purple table?
Wait, can you explain, can you go a little bit, like, explain the question a little more? We're kind of confused.
So how does color blindness affect your everyday life?
Where have you seen it, like, in your life? Or maybe can you think of a time where you've met somebody who may be colorblind?
Any experiences
literally or figuratively?
you've seen or have had? Shit, this is safe space.
I don't know if this is color blindness or relate to the question, but I was at work and I said something about doing a specific hairstyle to my hair, and one of my coworkers, he was saying some microaggressions, and me being like, culturally aware and like I try not to be ignorant. I was listening to him and I was getting a little upset because he was saying it, and I was trying to tell him like, that's not right, don't say that, and he was just, he grew, like he was, I guess, I don't know, hold on.
It's okay.
He kept saying it didn't matter, that he just said that like, oh, I didn't mean it, like, it's not rude and stuff like that, but I know if like he was talking about that to one of my friends, like they would be offended, so I felt like I had to step up to like defend them even though they weren't even there. And it just kind of made me mad. Like that was like one of the first times that like I've been subjected to that type of stuff, because when I grew up I wasn't subjected to that kind of stuff, so it was kind of different for me, and it made me like really open my eyes to see like there's people out there that really do not know anything about anybody else's culture, and it shows, and it just, I don't know.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing. That was really awesome. That was really brave of you for standing up even when nobody was there to see it. Great. That's what matters.
All right, now purple table?
Alrighty, to answer this question, we said that color blindness affects our everyday life. We decided that color blindness doesn't really affect our life. We try to go through life judging people by what they do and how they carry themselves rather than the color of their skin. You know, the color of their skin is definitely the first thing you see, but that shouldn't mean you should treat someone differently. You should just treat them like you would any other regular person. And just treat them like a family member or like a friend. You don't have to treat them differently because of their race. You know, treat them based on how they treat others, how if they're a nice person or not. You know, treat them if they're a good person or not necessarily based on the color of their skin. So that's what we said.
Thank you for sharing.
If you didn't hear it, she just said, I think this question is kind of difficult. So why is it difficult?
I'm a minority, so unless somebody blatantly comes to me and says a racial slur or comes at me with a microaggression, how am I supposed to know that they are treating me differently because of the color of my skin? So you could be nice, like, somebody could be nice to you, like in like real life, and they could have a completely different perception of you, but they just don't show that because like they know it's wrong. So I feel like color blindness, like maybe somebody would benefit from color blindness because it means you're getting treated better by somebody who might think of you differently in a private aspect of life.
definitely something to think about. I saw a hand go up over here, so I'm going to bring the mic over here. I think you have a response?
Kind of one touching on the question first, and then the brother over there, his response. I think personally, and I don't know if many black students can relate, but or probably can, but for me personally, I feel like colorblindness affects my everyday life because as a black student and a black man in America, moving with, or just a black person in America, having to move where there are people that are colorblind and don't, and even I would say UD is guilty of it as well, with not necessarily focusing on specific minority issues. And when topics are brought up, people can act like, for instance, police brutality, having to almost defend yourself, and having to pull up facts when people are in denial of, okay, this is because of race, or this was a stem of racism, or this was a reaction because of race, and having to deal with that color blindness. But you see this every single day, and as a black person, it affects my everyday life because it forces me to deal with things differently than somebody that doesn't actually deal with those specific situations. So I have to emotionally control myself when I see somebody getting shot, because that could be me. But the reality is the world doesn't see it like that. They see it as it could be anybody when these are very isolated situations. But I do feel like we don't have to look at it from that perspective, but that's just the reality of some people that are in the situation. It may not be their colorblindness, or they may not be colorblind, but the colorblindness of other people truly affect the emotional stability of many others that are affected by, terrible situations.
That was awesome. Thank you. Just wanted to say that. All right, on that note, we're gonna move on to the next question. And this one's a big one. So, have you witnessed racial slurs being used around campus or in your everyday life? So when you go home, no matter how near or far home may be, at work, at the rec, at the gym, at the park, go ahead and take a couple minutes to talk about that in your table groups, and whoever lost the nose goes at green and blue, be prepared to share. Thanks.
Yeah, like that's pretty bad. I don't think I've ever heard nothing from the street. Like I've definitely heard like at an event like maybe something like this. I have definitely heard like friends, like guys, just like joking like some things that are definitely not great said, but like at the same time, like I've been in a situation where not quite not terrible. Like I mean, it's something that happening that we've all seen. You know what I mean? So like I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm saying like we've all seen it.
I don't know. I went to an all-girls Catholic school in my or like and I mean obviously I think it was definitely more helpful girls in high school just like girls like they didn't care just because I know they think they weren't around it and like way like this is my different how like the way some of them are like saying not saying the way they're like also themselves and stuff like I just think that they didn't like have such an awareness on it and they care and when you said they didn't care in the world just to say what they wanted to say I definitely think
Okay, green table.
We said that yes, that we've witnessed racial slurs on campus because some people think that if it's in a song, it's okay to say, and it's background racism, and it's sweet. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing. Blue table.
I personally hear racial slurs every day, but it is from my own culture. I personally don't condone the use of the N-word. I am part African American, and our culture constantly uses the N-word, but a lot of people use it as a term of endearment. I personally don't think it should be used in that way. A lot of people, personally, if they're gonna use it, that's fine with them, but I personally don't use it because it's still used as an insult. If anything, I would use it as an insult, but I would never say that type of word. And if someone chooses to call their own family that word, that's personally up to them. But I think that word still holds meaning, even though it has been over years and generations of change, and people think that the meaning has changed over years. It still holds the basis of its original meaning. Words have power. That's it.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, like, it kind of bumps off of her comment about how people will say something like the N-word in like a song. Like, nothing feels worse when you're at like Fargo's or Tim's or Mask and a song like Mo Bamba comes on, and you just think in the back of your mind, like, oh my God, because you know that in 3 seconds, the whole room will say the N-word, like, unapologetically, and it happens all the time, and you expect it, and that's, like, the worst. Like, and people know it happens, and people still choose to say it because they think it's okay because it's just in a song, when that word was built off of hatred. And when you go to a school that's like a majority white institution, it's hard to not think that there's a double meaning behind that. And if you don't know, there was the N-word, and it was written outside of Marycrest, right before winter break, during a fire drill. And Spina sent out an email about it, and people push it off just because he sent it. Like nobody really cared. So a lot of people will sit in a room and say like, oh yeah, like that's bad. But like when you see people around campus like blatantly ignoring it happen in front of them and still saying it, it kind of just is a backlash.
Okay, so a lot of my friends are cultured, and especially so I play basketball, and a lot of them were black, and one of my white friends, she said the N-word a lot, and it just made my skin crawl every time she said it. But the thing was that nobody said anything to her, like they let her say it, and the only reason why is because, oh, you're basically black, you can say it. And I said to her, I was like, you can't say, like, why do you say that word? Like, you can't say that word. I was like, nobody, like, I don't even like that word. Nobody, like, what India said, I don't personally use it because I don't have the privilege to or whatever. But, like, And what makes me mad is when people say like, oh, you can say that because you're basically black, because you hang out with these people. I'm like, I don't want to say that word to anybody. I don't like people saying that word just because of, like what Jay says, like full of hatred. And that kind of makes me upset is when they, like going back to like color blindness, like they don't see that I'm white and like they don't treat me like I'm white, even though I am white. And like, I don't like it. I like all throughout high school, just people trying to get me to say the N-word, and like, it was kind of rough for me because my dad would come home, like he would say like, you know, you're white, Emma, and my mom would say that, and my family would say that.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing, Emma.
Would anyone else like to build off of that?
So that was really powerful, right? Like, I'll just disclaimer, if you can't tell by now, those are my friends. So that was really meaningful to me. But I just really want to build off of that talking point there. The lady in the green table in the back. The lady in the green table in the back said it,
and a couple of my friends said it, and I think it's really important that we talk about it. And that's honestly the purpose of today's event. So when you hear Mo Bamba or any other song, is it okay to sing along? Should you just cover your mouth and mouth the word? Should you just not say anything at all? Should you do what Emma does and just kind of purse your lips? Go ahead and talk about that in your groups. And what do you do?
Yeah, I always just like say it. You know, like every time. I don't know. Yeah, like I can remember times where I literally with that exact song where I just been like, yeah, I'm not gonna say anything. Yeah. I know the exact moment she's talking about, because like I mean I'm white, and I thought, okay, how was I ever gonna do this? Like, yeah.
But and like I don't basically answer the question. I don't
Okay, so coming off of that was just to kind of get you guys to reflect and to think, and also just do a little self-reflection as well. We're going to go ahead and get into flight check. So if you hear someone else say it, and it being any type of just not nice word, does that make it okay for you to say it too? And why or why not? Go ahead and take a moment to discuss in your groups.
Yeah, like even if like my person told me I could say it, I wouldn't be like, all right, like hey, I got my pass, like no. I never know.
And then after this, it's not
I get it. I think it just creates too much room for pride. Like, I have their word that even...
Orange table?
And it just creates room
So we said no because just because someone says it doesn't mean it's right. And we used a terrible analogy, but like if your friends jump off a bridge, like would you? So like just because someone says it doesn't mean it's right, and you shouldn't repeat it.
Absolutely. Yellow table?
Yeah, we also said no. Yeah, and why not? Because it just makes it seem like it's okay.
Thank you for speaking. Now, if someone said something that offended you, would you check them or let it go? Discuss among you groups.
Okay, so where's the red table?
Right here.
Right here, right in front of me. You're ready, so it sounds like you're the person who's going to talk.
Yeah, sounds great.
So if someone said something that offended you, would you check them or would you just kind of let it slide?
So,
for our whole table, we all kind of had a couple different ideas. For the most part, it really depends on the situation. If it was our friends or anybody we knew, we definitely would say something. But if it was a stranger, maybe not. For me, I'm a pretty confrontational person, so I probably would, especially if it was in presence of somebody else that would be offended, or if it's like at a specific group that I'm a part of or something. I definitely would step up, but I don't know, I'm a confrontational person, so I probably will say something. So I don't know. That's pretty much what we talked about here. So.
Yeah, and it can be kind of intimidating to confront somebody. I feel intimidated confronting people. It's not my personality. But it's, sometimes you should say something. So, where's the black table?
Alright, well, we kind of said exactly what they said, but I mean, yeah, basically if it was your friend, you'd say something, but a stranger, I don't know, depending on how bad the comment was, if it really bugged me, I'd say something, but other than that, I'd probably just let it go unless they kept saying it over and over again.
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes you have to pick and choose your battles a little bit too, right?
I do think it definitely depends on the scenario. I feel like if someone's saying it out of just ignorance, sheer ignorance, was it microaggressions? If it was a microaggression, I would definitely say something. But if it's something that was intentionally racist, that they intentionally wanted me to feel insignificant by them, I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of paying attention or acknowledging what they said, because then that's going to just feed their little hate fire, and we don't want that. We want to spread the love. So just, turn back and smile and just go about your day.
Yeah, we don't like bullies out here, so bullying is not tolerated at UD. Got another hand up over here.
I believe in checking every situation, just because disrespect isn't tolerated. However, a perspective does need to be considered, something that many minorities battle, and I know it's something that I've battled as an intern. Being put in a lot of situations, you can be put in to where there's a dilemma, because you can be disrespected, but if you check that situation, you could feel like you're about to lose everything that you have. If I actually confront this situation, will I lose my job? Will I not be able to provide for myself? Similar to the Kaepernick situation, kneeling for the flag. People think it's disrespect to the flag, but nobody's actually had the conversation about why he kneeled, which was because young black teens were dying due to police brutality, and nobody's talked about that, but he lost his job due to that. And that's a risk you have to take. So I would say that's a fear that, or not even a fear, because I have faith in myself and my community, but it's something that I do think about when a lot of situations arise.
And just to build on that, still dying. And if even further, Kaepernick's advocacy work is honestly going unrecognized. So sometimes we check people or do things, and you could end up on the cover of Time magazine, or nobody could see it, like my friend Emma, when she stood up, and nobody was there to see it, but she still did the right thing. So you can do the right thing even when nobody is watching, or when the whole world is watching on national television.
I also think it's really important to like check somebody, because like you're preventing that situation from like happening to somebody else. So like if somebody says something like outlandish and you check them on it, the next time that they think of saying that thing, they're gonna like double think before they do it, which is gonna be like, oh, like last time I said that, like, oh, like negative things happened. Oh, so I won't say it again because I know that like I'm gonna get a negative reaction from it. So I feel like the more you check up on somebody and be like, hey, like that's not right, like, hey, you can't say that, that's really disrespectful, the more you stop it from disrespecting somebody else.
And last question. As a bystander of an incident, do you feel that you should say something? And we kind of touched on this a little bit. So just take a few seconds to talk and reflect. Would you say something?
Famous quote after the Holocaust where
So just for the sake of time, and because we've kind of talked about this question, it's going to become a little repetitive, we're going to go ahead and move on because we do have an activity that we want to get through before we leave tonight. At each of your tables, there's a picture there. Some of you guys might have this picture, some of you guys might have a different picture. Either way, there's a picture and there are slips of paper with some questions there. You don't have to go in order of the questions, but there's some really good talking points. So this first question, we're going to talk about, how does this picture make you feel? How do you think the person in the photo may feel? Have you heard this around campus? And is this comment offensive? Why or why not? So we have an African American male here, and he's holding a sign, and that sign has a microaggression on it. The microaggression reads, "You don't act like a normal black person, you know?" So take a moment to think about that and talk about that with your friends. And for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and show you the next one. And some of you guys might also have this one on your table. We have a lady here holding a sign that says, "Can you see as much as white people? You know, because of your eyes." So we kind of saw that in that video we watched too. It's not very nice, so it's actually hard for me to say. So once again, how do you feel, and how do you think the person in this photo may feel?
Like, sort of the weird thing that you sound like, I do get that, because I mean, like, there is an accent that exists for you know what I mean? So, like, if you, when you said, like, your whole situation, And you said, what do you mean by that? They responded like, oh, he doesn't have and you're like, okay, that makes sense. I get that.
And a couple more.
Right.
So,
Or
once again, have you heard something like this on campus? And maybe is this comment offensive? Why do you sound white?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. It can be offensive. I mean, if you're like, yeah, I mean, it's depending on the meaning.
And our
I just
next
think
one.
there is like
How do you think that this young lady might feel holding a sign that says, "So you're Chinese, right?"
Like, I think what I would do is
And you might also have this one at your table, or you might have a different photo at your table. But I'm going to go ahead and read this one out loud just in case you can't read it. We have a young lady here holding a sign that's talking about something that happened to her. She says, "This girl sitting next to me moves to sit closer to someone that she's talking to. And this white guy whispers loudly that she moved because I, quote, smell like rice." So how do you think that this young lady might have felt in that situation? And have you heard an offensive comment like that on campus? Go ahead and discuss that in your groups.
I haven't heard that. No, I'm just dumbfounded by it.
And we're almost done, but just a couple more, so you might see this one at your table as well. She's holding a sign, and I'm going to read it now in case you can't see the slide from where you're sitting. So, what do you guys speak in Japan? Asian? So, especially if you haven't heard it.
yeah, like some people just don't like. That is one of those things that's just so ignorant. I don't think they might have asked you. You have to be
So I heard some really good discussion about that last one. That was a really strong one as well. And here's the last image that you might see at your table. We have a young man here holding a sign that says, "The limited representation of my race in your classroom does not make me the voice of all Black people." So I heard an amen. So this isn't so much of a microaggression, but a comeback at one. What do you guys think of this one? Alright, so I heard some good discussion there. And just for the time crunch, we're going to go ahead and keep it moving. Oh, okay. here are just some campus resources. So we gave you a lot of examples of microaggressions, racial slurs, and just other not nice statements. If you ever see this on campus, we can't control what happens in the outside world, but if you do see this on campus, you can report these statements. So maybe you don't feel brave enough to personally confront the individual, but you do know that it just shouldn't go unchecked. You can report it on the UD website at the Equity and Compliance Office page. So this is what the page would look like if you were to go there, and here's the link. And you can always just find that by Googling UDayton Equity Compliance. And some other campus resources. So if someone ever comes to you and says that something happened to them, you can refer them to these resources. If something happens to you, you can also go here. And for other diversity and inclusion related events, go ahead and check out the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, OMA, LGBTQ+ services, the Office of Equity and Compliance, and SGA, and of course some shameless plugs. Don't be afraid to go follow those offices, UD_OMA and UD_SGA. And more Tough Talks coming up, so if you want more path points, go ahead and come through next Tuesday to the Adele Center at 7, or February 18th, back here in Torch Lounge. Scan out the back. Thank you for coming, guys.
I just need to carry this upstairs and log it. Yeah, boy, it's still streaming. Yeah.